12 different names, 12 different paint jobs, one factory in northern Italy you've never heard of. Right now, in your garage or your neighbor's shed, there's probably a chainsaw wearing a brand you recognize. Maybe it says Husqvarna, maybe John Deere, and there's a very good chance that beneath the orange or the green or whatever color they chose to make you feel loyal, it's the exact same machine. Same engine block, same carburetor throat diameter. They call it badge engineering when they're being polite. But what's happening in the Emak Group's production halls outside Reggio Emilia isn't just slapping different stickers on identical products. There's a reason this company, worth hundreds of millions, stays almost invisible even to the dealers selling their machines. And it starts with a name most people never hear until they're 3 beers deep at a trade show. And there's one contract, one brand partnership they nearly signed in 2014 that would have changed everything, until someone in Atlanta killed the deal for reasons nobody will confirm. To understand how you build 12 brands from one factory, you need to go back to a place that no longer exists. Northern Italy, 1967. The air in Reggio Emilia smelled like burned 2-stroke oil and fresh-cut walnut. The Emiliani family had been building small engines since the 1950s, garden equipment mostly. Machines that disappeared into sheds and did quiet work for 30 years. But Pietro Emiliani wasn't interested in quiet. He wanted speed. Not in the engines, those were already fast enough. Speed in production, speed in adaptation. The ability to change a product line faster than a German or Swedish competitor could schedule a board meeting. So he built something strange, a factory with no loyalty to its own name. That decision would eventually make Emak Group one of the most profitable outdoor power equipment manufacturers in Europe. But first, it nearly got them sued into dust by a company in Oregon that noticed something odd about a chainsaw they'd never authorized. Efco was the first brand, launched in 1978. The name itself is an acronym, Emiliani Fabbrica Coltelli Utils. The logo was simple, a red badge. No mythology, no heritage story about lumberjacks in the Alps, just a product line that worked. Priced 15% below the Swedes, sold mostly to contractors who didn't care what their tools were named. By 1985, Efco had a problem. They'd gotten too good at making cheap, reliable saws. Demand was outpacing their ability to scale distribution. They had production capacity for 80,000 units a year, but only retail presence in Italy, Greece, and parts of France. They could have done what every other manufacturer does, spend a decade building brand recognition, fighting for shelf space. Or they could do what Pietro's son, Luca Emiliani, suggested during a meeting that reportedly lasted 11 minutes. Build everyone else's chainsaw. Not knockoffs, not counterfeits. Legitimate OEM contracts with companies that had the distribution networks but didn't want to sink capital into manufacturing. Let them handle the marketing, the warranties, the dealer relationships. Emak would handle everything that actually mattered, the castings, the coil packs, the piston ring tolerances. Within 8 years, they had contracts with 4 brands. By 2005, that number was 9. Today, depending on how you count sub-brands and regional labels, it's somewhere between 12 and 16. Here's what that actually looks like on a production line. Same engine block, same 45cc 2-stroke, sand cast in aluminum. The crankshaft is forged in batches of 600. The carburetor bodies come from a supplier in Brescia. Walbro diaphragm design, clone licensed. Paint, obviously. Handlebar shape, some brands want a slight rearward rake, others want vertical. Clutch cover design, air filter access door, the typeface on the starter rope handle. These aren't cosmetic decisions, they're psychological ones. A contractor who spent 30 years pulling John Deere green needs to feel like he's holding a deer, even if the piston inside came out of the same mold as the one in an Oleo-Mac. And it works, until someone notices. a warranty manager at a mid-sized chainsaw distributor in Oregon, started getting odd failure reports. 3 saws, all different brands, all failing in the exact same way. Cracked ignition coil housing at the same stress point, roughly 87 hours into operation. That's not how mechanical failure works. Patterns like that suggest a design flaw. So he did what any decent engineer would do. He pulled the coils and looked at the casting marks. Same factory code, same batch number, same supplier stamp, barely visible under the epoxy coat. He made a call, then another. Then he had 3 chainsaws disassembled on a workbench in front of 2 very nervous brand managers who suddenly realized they'd been selling rebadged Emak units for 4 years without knowing it. The contract had gone through a third-party sourcing agent in Munich. The agent had never mentioned Emak. Technically legal, ethically murky, practically brilliant. No lawsuit ever got filed. The distributor renegotiated. Emak added a redundant coil mount clip to the design, and the whole thing disappeared into the gray space between trade secrets and industry common knowledge. So how does one factory build for a dozen rival brands without anyone noticing? Compartmentalization. Emak's facility in Bagnolo has separate production halls. One hall runs the Efco line, another does Oleo-Mac, which Emak owns outright. A third handles OEM contracts. The workers know what they're building, but they don't necessarily know where it's going. The packaging happens in a different building entirely, often off-site at regional distribution centers. And the brands? Most of them know, the big ones anyway. They know they're buying manufacturing capacity, not exclusive design. They're paying for throughput, for quality control systems certified to ISO 116881. What they're also paying for, and this is the part that makes Emak's model genuinely clever, is deniability. A brand like John Deere has a century of equity in green paint and a leaping deer logo. Their customers aren't buying a chainsaw. They're buying a signal. I'm the kind of person who owns Deere equipment. That's worth 30, maybe 40% price premium. But Deere doesn't want to build chainsaws. The margins are thin. The liability is high. Chainsaws injure 40,000 people a year in the US alone. The R&D investment to develop a proprietary platform from scratch would take a decade and cost more than the entire product line would gross. So they do what every rational actor does. They let someone else build it, slap their logo on it, mark it up. And because Emak never advertises, never does consumer outreach, never puts their own name on anything that leaves the factory for North America, the customer never knows, unless someone makes a mistake. Like what happened in Genoa in 1997. Shipping container 4447B, inspected by customs during a routine check at the port of Genoa, bound for Montreal. Inside, 40 chainsaw units, labeled for a Canadian distributor that had ordered Husqvarna branded equipment. Except they weren't Husqvarna's. They were Emak-built units with Husqvarna logos, which would have been fine, except Husqvarna hadn't authorized this batch. The distributor had gone around them, ordered direct from Emak through a gray market agent, figuring they'd save 12%. Husqvarna noticed. The shipment got seized. The distributor lost their licensing agreement, and Emak tightened their OEM contract language. Now, every partnership includes a clause requiring brand verification on orders over 500 units. That case never went public. It's mentioned in exactly one trade journal article from 1998. But inside the industry, it's the ghost story every OEM contractor knows. So that's the container in Genoa, a gray market deal gone wrong, and a manufacturing model that works only if everyone involved agrees not to look too closely. But here's the thing nobody talks about at trade shows. Emak's model isn't just efficient. It's quietly killing the idea of brand loyalty in the outdoor power equipment industry. 20 years ago, you bought a still because your father bought a still. The saw in your hand had a story. It had a factory you could picture, German engineering, Swedish forestry heritage. Now, you're holding an Emak, or a Chongqing Zongshen, or a Lonsin rebadge. The brand is a shell. The story is a licensed narrative applied at the packaging stage. And the guy selling it to you at the dealership has no idea. You might be thinking, so what? If the saw works, who cares who built it? Fair, except it matters when something breaks. Because that genuine Husqvarna replacement coil you're paying $45 for, it's the same $12 part that fits an Efco MT4100, an Oleo-Mac 937, and 4 other saws you've never heard of. But you'll never know that, because the parts diagrams don't cross-reference. So why does Emak stay invisible? Because visibility kills the model. The moment consumers realize that a $380 John Deere chainsaw and a $220 Efco chainsaw are the same machine, the brand premium collapses. Deere stops ordering. The OEM contracts dry up, so they stay quiet. No trade show booths in Hall A where the big brands set up. Efco and Oleo-Mac, the brands they own outright, get marketed, but only in Europe, only through independent dealers. And it works. Emak Group did 263 million euros in revenue in 2022. Most of that came from products you've seen but didn't know they made. Let me show you how deep this goes. The Emak Group doesn't just make chainsaws. They make brush cutters, hedge trimmers, blowers, log splitters, pressure washers. 17 product categories. Over 900 SKU variations when you account for regional voltage differences and emission certifications. And almost none of it says Emak on the housing. Efco, Oleo-Mac, Bertolini, Nibby, Dynamac. These they own. Then the OEM partners, brands they build for under contract. Then the quiet ones, distributors who order in bulk, rebadge, and sell under regional labels that exist only in 3 provinces of Spain. You could own 4 different brands of outdoor power equipment and never realize they all came from the same factory outside Reggio Emilia. In fact, if you own more than 3 pieces of 2-stroke equipment, I drove past the Emak facility once. It's not dramatic. A low, sprawling complex of white and gray buildings just off the SS63. No big sign, no visitor center. The loading docks face away from the road. You can hear it though. The punch presses, the test cells where they run engines at full throttle for hours. Smells like hot metal and bar oil. Sounds like 1,000 chainsaws screaming in unison. The people who work there, about 650 of them, most of them know what they're building. They know the green ones go to America, and the orange ones stay in Europe, and the red ones go to Naples. And they don't care. Why would they? They're building engines. They're torquing crankcase bolts to spec, setting ignition timing gaps. The politics of who gets to put their logo on it, that's someone else's problem. But there's one group that should care and mostly doesn't: the dealers. A dealership makes money 3 ways: unit sales, parts, and service. Unit sales are low margin. Service is where you actually make rent. And service is where the Emak model starts to crack. Because if you're a Husqvarna dealer and a customer brings in a saw that's failing the same way an Efco fails, you might start asking questions. If you're a good mechanic, you'll notice the parts interchange. You'll notice the service bulletins describe identical issues. You'll pull a jug off a Husqvarna and see a casting mark that doesn't match the brand. And you'll say nothing. Because your dealership agreement probably includes language about disparaging brand integrity. Because you make $18 on a manufacturer-certified replacement part and $9 on an aftermarket equivalent. So the silence holds. Everyone profits. The customer pays the brand tax. And Emak keeps building. This isn't unique to Emak. It's how modern manufacturing works. Foxconn builds iPhones and Kindles and PlayStations. Luxottica makes Ray-Bans and Oakleys and Prada sunglasses using the same tooling. Consolidation is efficient. Branding is expensive. But chainsaws feel different. Maybe it's the violence of the tool. Maybe it's the rural mythology. A chainsaw is supposed to mean something. It's supposed to come from somewhere, and it does. It comes from Bagnolo in Piano, province of Reggio Emilia, northern Italy. It just doesn't come from the place the logo says it does. Here's what happens next. Emak is expanding. They acquired a factory in China in 2018. Lower labor costs, access to Asian markets, same OEM model. They're building the same saws, now with made in PRC stamps instead of made in Italy. And the brands buying from them, they're starting to care about the optics. Italian engineered still sells. Chinese manufactured does not. So the marketing language is changing. Designed in Europe, engineered to ISO standards. Technically true, morally slippery. At some point, someone's going to write an article, a big one, and it's going to lay out the whole map, which brands are Emak, which are Chongqing, which are actually independent. And for about 6 months, there will be outrage, YouTube videos, forum arguments. Dealers will get angry questions, and then nothing will change, because the saws will still work. And most people, when faced with the choice between a comfortable myth and an uncomfortable truth, choose the myth. There's a guy I talked to once, dealer in Tennessee, been selling outdoor equipment for 30 years. He told me he stopped caring about brands around 2005. Said it used to matter. Now, it's all the same stuff, different stickers. He wasn't angry about it, just tired. Tired of explaining to customers why the $400 saw was worth it when the $250 saw had the same engine. Tired of the mythology. He still sells the premium brands, still tells people still is worth the extra money. But when someone asks him what he uses, he points to an Efco on the back shelf. Says it's been running since 2003. That's the real story of Emak. Not the contracts, not the intrigue. The fact that the best chainsaw you've never heard of is the one building all the chainsaws you have. So here's what you're left with. Emak Group stays invisible because invisibility is the business model. The moment they become a household name, they lose the OEM contracts. So they stay quiet, they build, they ship, and they let everyone else take credit. Somewhere in Reggio Emilia, right now, a production line is running. Same engine blocks, same carburetor castings. Half of them will be painted green and sold as premium American equipment. The other half will be painted red and sold in Italian hardware stores for 60% less. And no one will ever know the difference. Well, almost no one, because there's one contract, one brand partnership that Emak has never confirmed or denied. A partnership that would have put their engines in every Home Depot in North America under a name you'd absolutely recognize. The deal was supposedly ready to sign in 2014. Prototypes were built, terms were negotiated, and then, for reasons no one outside a conference room in Atlanta will explain, it fell apart. I've asked 3 different Emak reps about it. 2 refused to answer. 1 just smiled and said, "Some brands prefer the myth." Maybe he's right. The factory in Bagnolo runs 6 days a week. The test cells scream. The saws come off the line in rows of 12, wrapped in plastic, anonymous, waiting for someone to tell them what they're supposed to be. 12 different names, 12 different stories. One factory that never says a word.